at the National Military Command Center in the Pentagon said, "We received the report from the FAA that Flight 93 had turned off its transponder and was heading towards Washington, D.C. Other military officers have testified that, besides knowing about United 93, the military was tracking it. 2 days after 9/11, General Myers himself said that fighters were scrambled on the airliner that eventually crashed in Pennsylvania. We had gotten somebody close to it. 2 days after 9/11, Paul Wolfowitz, who was then Deputy Secretary of Defense, said that the Air Force was tracking the hijacked plane that crashed in Pennsylvania and had been in position to bring it down if necessary. In 2002, Colonel Robert Marr, the head of NEADS, told Peter Jennings that, having received shoot-down authorization from Richard Clark, he passed that on to the pilots, adding, "United Airlines Flight 93 will not be allowed to reach Washington, D.C. 2 pilots, moreover, have independently said that they received those orders and would have shot down Flight 93 if it had not crashed on its own. Like Wolfowitz, these pilots deny that the flight was actually shot down. But the question at issue is the 9/11 Commission's claim that the military did not even know that this flight had been hijacked. And their testimony, like that of Arnold, Clark, Marr, Myers, Wolfowitz, and Winfield, directly contradicts that claim. We have extremely strong evidence, therefore, that insofar as the NORAD tapes given to the 9/11 Commission and Michael Bronner say otherwise, they have been doctored. They do not provide the authentic military history of 9/11 or anything close to it. In this lecture, I've given several examples of what you can learn about 9/11 if you get empirical, checking the actual facts rather than simply, like popular mechanics and far too many journalists, equating the facts with the claims made by people defending the official conspiracy theory. But if reporters and news organizations would develop the courage to get empirical about 9/11, the official theory will completely unravel. Evidence for this claim is provided by former senior CI analyst Bill Christensen, who said in a letter to friends in August of 2006, "I spent the first 4.5 years since September 11th utterly unwilling to consider seriously the conspiracy theories surrounding the attacks of that day. In the last half year, and after considerable agony, I've changed my mind." In an essay entitled "Stop Belittling the Theories About September 11th," Christensen summarized what he considered the persuasive evidence that the events of September 11th did not unfold as the Bush administration and the 9/11 Commission would have us believe. This conclusion is of overwhelming importance, Christensen argues, because the fraud of 9/11 involves a much greater crime against the American people and people of the world than any other charges of fraud connected with the run-up to the invasion of Iraq in March 2003. Why? It is more important because the events of 9/11 have been used by the administration to justify every single aspect of U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East since September 11th. It is Christensen continues, "It is more important also because it affects the very core of our entire political system. It is a conspiracy so far successful not only against the people of the United States, but against the entire world." Christensen's analysis makes clear why getting the truth about 9/11 publicly revealed is so important. Getting it revealed, however, will be very difficult. One reason was pointed out by former CIA case officer Robert Baer. He's the man upon whom the movie Syriana was based, the George Clooney character. And he is the one that was assigned to write the review of the new Pearl Harbor for the Nation several years ago, at which time he ridiculed me for being a conspiracy theorist. But during this recent interview with Tom Hartman of Portland, he indicated that he had changed his mind. Now he believed 9/11 was an inside job. But explaining why this getting the truth out will be difficult, Baer went on to say, a lot of people in the United States have profited from 9/11. Great fortunes are being made. This is a problem for getting the truth about 9/11 revealed, because those who are making great fortunes include corporations who wield great influence over what can be reported in the mainstream media. Nevertheless, I believe there is still hope that the truth may come out. Other countries, such as Canada and several European countries, may begin exposing the lies so loudly that the American press will not be able to pretend not to hear. The activist side of the 9/11 truth movement in the United States and other countries may begin organizing mass rallies to demand that the truth finally be told. The Democrats, now in control of Congress, may develop the courage to hold hearings about 9/11. If so, the press will have little choice but to report on them. At some point, the press will realize that to save its own reputation, it will need to get out front on this story so that it can take credit for revealing it. The 9/11 truth movement is now far stronger than it was only a year ago, thanks to the addition over this past year of many more scientists, architects, engineers, pilots, and former members of the military and intelligence services. It is now much more obvious that the 9/11 movement is based on professional, informed evaluations of the empirical evidence, and that it is the official story that fits what most people mean when they say that they reject conspiracy theories. Theories that, being based on groundless speculation, are wildly at odds with the evidence, except evidence that has been planted. But perhaps the greatest boon to the 9/11 truth movement is the fact that in 2006, defenders of the official theory changed their strategy. Rather than continuing simply to ridicule or completely ignore the claims of the 9/11 truth movement, they decided to try to debunk our claims. These attempts backfired because they served only to make clear how completely at variance with the empirical evidence the official theory is. They made clear that the official story cannot be defended. By demonstrating this, my latest book is evidently more convincing than my previous ones. In a statement on Amazon.com, international lawyer John Whitbeck says, after reading David Ray Griffin's previous books on the subject, I was over 90% convinced that 9/11 was an inside job. Now, after reading Debunking 9/11 Debunking, I regret to say, 100% convinced. I hope this book will help the worldwide 9/11 truth movement finally get the truth out about 9/11 and get the big lie exposed. Thank you very much for your kind attention.